Hey everyone, we're back here. Late last week I put up an article I wrote on Techstrong IT. I've been working for the last couple months, whether it's through our partnerships with AWS and their channel, through our dealings both at Tech Field Day and at Techstrong with friends at Broadcom and the VMware folks at Broadcom, on the whole boiling pot of what's going on around modernization in IT. And the light bulb finally went off for me. I had a eureka moment that for all the belly aching that we hear about Broadcom's acquisition of VMware and whether what they're doing now is smart, not smart, or whatever, the fact of the matter is that acquisition has been the biggest catalyst for a wave of IT modernization that we've seen, maybe since the cloud. Well, not counting AI, of course, because everything's AI, but since the cloud itself. All of it became sort of that boundary layer, right? Where all of a sudden, so many companies started looking at, should I stay on-prem? Is this the right time to go to the public cloud? Should I remain on my VMware platform? Should I look at the public clouds platforms? And then, and there were a lot of doomsayers, Steve and Mitch. I mean, JP, you know this. A lot of people said, oh, they changed the licensing. It's going to be a mass exodus. Well, nonsense. A lot of people don't look at the licensing cost as the big money here. Moving up to the public cloud is big money too. And whether I take VMware with me or use something else is a major architectural decision. Our friend Keith Townsend, Steve and I read something he wrote in LinkedIn this weekend that he said anybody who's thinking about these sort of migrations needs to include their architectural review board, because this isn't just switching out a battery. This is switching out your architecture. And then to top it off, and I wrote this in the article, VMware actually doubled down and trumped a lot of these people. They came out with the new 9.0 version, right? Which allows you to run sort of private cloud on-prem with a lot of the same bells and whistles you'd be getting in a public cloud. They've made it easy to take it with you on the public cloud. They didn't roll over. They got battle tough, lean, mean fighting machine, and they're going to fight for their customers and they're going to fight for their share of the market. Let me just say up front, we're doing it's a very unique kind of thing. One of the first times we're doing it. What do we call it, Stephen? Techstrong, Tech Field Day, Techstrong? I don't even remember. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Tech Field Day event, but we are internally, and this is, I think, what Alan's getting at. Internally, we're referring to this as Techstrong Field Day because it really kind of brings the best of Techstrong and the best of Tech Field Day together in a way that we really haven't done yet. And so this is going to be really fun. We're going to get a lot of deep dive Tech Field Day style content focused on what VMware is doing with VCF 9, but we're going to allow folks from the Techstrong audience to engage and interact and be part of Tech Field Day in a way that we never had before. And I think that's pretty cool, especially given, as Alan's saying, this really remarkable shift that we've seen thanks to Broadcom. It's easy to just crap on the whole thing and say, yeah, Broadcom, they stink, they're ruining VMware. But I think that that's not exactly what most of or at least many of the customers are saying. I think some customers are disappointed, sure, that they've been left on the sidelines. But I think from what I'm hearing, a lot of the VMware customers are very pleasantly surprised with the direction that the company and the product has headed for the reasons that Alan is mentioning. Essentially, this is a catalyst. This allows them to move forward in a way that they really wanted to, and allows them to do that in a way that doesn't require just wholesale re-engineering and really, integrates sort of the best of the cloud into this on-prem. JP?
Yeah. So I had a little bit of an epiphany lately. Why did Broadcom do this move? And frankly, I think it was deemed that there was saturation of the VMware market. There wasn't really much more up left in this game, right? And so obviously the people with mission critical infrastructure based on it have been very vocal about Broadcom coming out and acquiring it. But you notice that one of the first things they did was start to blow up all the partnerships, all the reseller ecosystem that had built up around the VMware universe. And I think, again, they became a very vocal group against this because antibodies, right? The virus was taking them out. But now you start to look at what Broadcom's invested in it. And the other day I had a very interesting aha moment with why would you go out and buy VMware? And initially when this all happened, I'm like, oh, they're just the next CA. But no, when you start to look at Broadcom has an investment in AI semiconductors, okay? What they're building, what they have the foundation for now is the end-to-end supply chain for AI infrastructure. They can build you an AI data center. Now that is huge. I mean, that opportunity to take their chips and so embedded in hardware with a virtualization layer ability to host and supply that AI infrastructure out is and I don't think it's been fully fulfilled. I think that they had work, which is why they haven't stepped up and announced it yet. But eventually what I see happening is I see Broadcom coming out and taking these assets and bringing them together to be a leader in AI infrastructure.
So my initial, and I think a lot of our reactions of when Broadcom announced this licensing change was, wow, that is really dumb. They're going to lose customers. Then to draw an analogy, I just watched John Wick 4 over the weekend. I think I'm realizing now that Broadcom's operating above the table, right? They're upping the ante in the market, saying, yeah, maybe VMware isn't the immovable object we all thought it was, and you all go after where you can go get something below the table. Go fight for that. Go fight for that. Meanwhile, we're coming out with 9. We're coming out to your point about AI chips. They've got a strategy behind this. It isn't the CA buy a company, sell it off, sell it down to pieces and kind of run it out like they used to do. Maybe they still do. I don't know. But I think there's a lot of thought going into like there's a strategic plan around what they're doing, and we're starting to see that take place.
I think a big part of this is the total cost of ownership, right? VMware's licensing costs are just one component of the total cost of ownership. And so when you start looking about what is it going to cost to migrate off of VMware and go to, for most people, that means going to a public cloud and their solutions and what it, the architecture.
Or OpenShift. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, OpenShift, Red Hat.
It reminds me on the days, I remember there was a time where it was, are you an Oracle shop? Are you a Sybase shop? Are you a whatever, Ingra shop, whatever it was? And yeah, well, companies are like, we don't like Oracle. We're going to move to Sybase. We're going to move everything to Sybase. Pick your whatever poison. And the RFPs would come out and say, you have to support this and you have to do that. I don't think I ever saw one successful. We actually moved anything over of anything of substance because it is just a massive overhaul and redesign in many cases. And in many ways, that's what taking out Oracle just for the sake, just taking out VMware just for the taking out sake is a problematic and is a massive undertaking. Now, if you're going to move to the cloud and maybe you want to consider running on Kubernetes on something else in Azure and AWS, okay, great. But you're not going to just sweepingly say it's all gone and we're moving it all. And in 6 months,
that's the beauty of this VMware. I think it's VMware Foundation 9.0 or something like that. It does support kube and containers and cloud native architecture. And it gives you the ability to run that hybrid in public and private. Right? I'm telling you, they doubled down on it. I want to just go back. Stephen and I think we're inadequate in our description of what we got playing here at the end of the month. So it's a classic tech field day married to a Techstrong virtual event. So the tech field day delegates will be doing their things. The Broadcom people will be presenting, but then it'll be available as a Techstrong virtual event, open to anyone who comes into the virtual event. And you can ask questions, talk to other people there, and enjoy the whole thing, right? And so it's a pretty interesting take on, and hopefully, to be fair, we're experimenting here. But if it works well, I think we'll see more of these kinds of joint Tech Field Day, Techstrong type of events going forward, because it does bring Field Day kind of outside the four walls of the room where the delegates and the presenters are. So it's pretty cool. Yep. But, bigger picture, forget the event just for 1 second. Well, before you do, if you go to the article I wrote, there's actually a link. You could go register for the event there. But bigger picture, I think the real power of this 9.0 VMware release is in hybrid. Because now you could be in public cloud and your own data center running cloud-native VMware-anchored infrastructure across your whole footprint. I don't know if you've been able to do that ever before like this, right? I think this was, kudos to Google's lawyers for the Windsurf deal. Kudos to the VMware team for what they've developed here in 9.0. I was very, very, very impressed with this. Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll move on. All right. Again, you could go check out, actually, if you go to techstrongevents.com, you could register. Or if you do check out the article I wrote in Techstrong IT, it's called Broadcom's Acquisition of VMware. Might be the biggest catalyst for IT modernization there is. That was a long title. But check it out. It's a good article, and you can register from there. We're looking forward to it. Stephen, thanks for working with us on that. It's a great Tech Field Day, Techstrong event. We'll see how it goes. We'd love to hear what you think about it if you attend. Let's take a break here on Techstrong Gang. We're going to come back and we're going to keep talking Tech Field Day for a moment, or maybe two. You're watching Techstrong Gang.